Hey, what's up, MikuFans? This is MikuFan 3000 here, and welcome to Story Time. I'm going to tell you a story about what happened 10 years ago. If you haven't noticed, some of you MikuFans out there, I had a major car accident 10 years ago on this day, on November 14th. Yeah, 10 years, man. 10 years since this happened. If you haven't noticed, I posted on my channel about how it happened, but there's actually more to this, so I want to tell you the full story about this day here and how it scarred me for life. Because even though it's been 10 years, I haven't still fully recovered from it. So let me tell you how it happened. But we need to go all the way back to 2013. Then I was just 19 years old, and it was like one of the best days of my life. In May, I just passed my driver license, and I was so happy, and my family and we celebrated. I was like, I can't believe I passed. I was now able to drive a car. But yeah, it was very nice. And when it was the 31st of August, Miku's birthday actually, I got my first car. I actually managed to get enough money to buy my own car. It was a used one, but it was still in good condition. It was an 11-year-old Peugeot 206. Had 3 doors, but it was still in good condition. It wasn't rusty, and the engine was good, and the tires were fine, and the bodywork, it was very nice. And the seats, they were also good, and the radio, need a new one. But anyway, the car was still in good condition, and I got the car. So I was happy. It was my first car, and I could drive around now. And for the first 2 months, September and October, it went pretty well, and I went to see places on my own for the first time without driving with my family. I could drive on my own. It was very great, and I loved it. So that car, that Peugeot 206, yeah, it was a great car. But then, November the 14th, I was getting ready for school, and to tell you, it was actually my last day at school before graduation. I had passed my exam, and I just needed one more day to be with my friends, and that was the last school day. I was getting ready. I got up, got a bath, brushed my teeth, shaved, got my breakfast, and then I got my school bag and went to the car, the Peugeot 206. And I was driving on my way to school, as I normally do. Normally I had a scooter, but then I sold it for the car to an old friend, and he appreciated the scooter, and maybe still around to this day, I don't know. But anyway, back to where we left off. I was driving normally to school, as I normally do, and then I arrived to some lights, where it changed from green to yellow and red, and I stopped for red light. That's what you have to do. When it's red, you stop. And then after a few minutes, yeah, it was a big one, so I had to wait for a few minutes before I got green light. And when I got green light, I drove. But suddenly I looked over to my left. I was sitting on the left-hand seat. That's what we do in Denmark and Europe. I know over in England you sit on the right-hand seat because the steering wheel is on the right, but mine was on the left. So I looked over to my left and suddenly I saw a black Chevrolet. And it drove over for red light. I didn't have time to react and suddenly, BAM! The car hit me where I was sitting. I completely lost control of the car and I span around. I was spinning at 360 two times before my car landed on the grass. I didn't roll over. I was spinning and then the car landed on the grass. But my God, I was in complete shock. I didn't even know where I was. I looked around while I was in panic mode. I tried to open the door, but it was completely stuck. I even had smoke in the car. I was afraid it was going to catch fire. But thankfully, it didn't catch fire. But I just had to get out. So, despite the pain I had in my hip, I managed to get the willpower. I ignored all the pain I had to get to the right door. And I managed to crawl over the handbrake, the gear shift lever, over the other seat, and I managed to open the door and I forced myself out. But when I tried to stand up, I couldn't. I was laying down on the floor. I couldn't use my legs at all. I was afraid something was broken. I was laying down on the floor screaming. I was in shock. But thankfully, I didn't lay there for very long. A kind man came over to me and the first thing he asked me was, "Are you alright? Are you okay?" But was I okay? No, I wasn't. I was completely not okay. So then he asked for more help and 3 other kind people came over to me and they helped me up. I was sitting on the hood of the car. You know, my car that was crashed. And they took care of me. They gave me blankets to keep me warm. They made sure I was not hypothermic. But my God, all I could say was, I want to call my mom. Please let me call my mom. But thankfully, a very kind lady. I mean, she was not very tall, but I could remember she had red glasses on. Her hair was like black grayish. And she had a yellow jacket on. And she was very kind to find my phone so she could call my mom for me. And then I remember the sight. The man who hit me, he was standing there talking on his phone. I was very pissed because, I mean, I wasn't pissed like at the moment we crashed, but I am like right now because all he did, he talked on his phone and he didn't even apologize. When you crash into someone, you need to help them or stop. You need to help. But he didn't. That was unacceptable. So yeah. To this day, I still don't know why he didn't apologize. All he could care about was just talking on his phone. So did he ran over a red light because he talked on his phone? I don't know. And I may never get the answer. But anyway, those kind people that were there, the eyewitnesses of the accident, they kindly helped me. And then rescue road service came to the aid to remove the cars from the road. And after a little wait, it didn't take long. It took like 10 minutes. An ambulance came. And the doctors, man, they were so kind. I was laid on a board and then onto a bed and brought into the ambulance. But before we drove off, oh, I was so happy to see my mom. She was so worried, and I understood why. Because after all, I was her son. And I was 19. What could have happened to me? But thankfully, she was there with me on the road to the hospital. And then when we arrived, yeah, I was taken to a room and the nurses looked all over me. They changed my legs, they changed my arms, and they even changed my head, you know, when the light is on your eyes, the pupils, they were reacting perfectly. I didn't have any head trauma. So I was very lucky to not have head damage. But when they were examining me, my dad arrived. And he was like, "What had happened, son?" I wanted to speak, but I was afraid of what he was saying. Because he didn't know who caused the accident until mom told him everything what I said to her. Yeah. So it went like that, and my dad, he was so furious about the man who caused the accident. He was like, "When I see him, I want to tear him apart. No one is going to damage my son like that." But I wanted to say, "Dad, please relax, all right? We can talk about this after this, all right? Let the nurses do their job." And then he was like, he took a deep breath and went for a cup of coffee. Yeah, I have great parents. And the last thing the nurses did for me, they took me to a room and they could do an x-ray on my hip because they wanted to see if I have any bones broken. But I was so lucky. I was so incredibly lucky. The x-ray shows that I had no bones broken. The hip was fully intact, and there wasn't any crack on my bones. So I was incredibly lucky. The car took all the damage while I survived. And when we went back to the room, they even took a urine test. You know, they wanted to see if there was any problem with my organs as well, because a hit like that, yeah, it could damage organs, but there wasn't anything wrong. I was fully okay. So, despite that massive hit, I was alright. Well, kind of. Because I escaped with a massive shock, some pain in my neck, not much, but it was still hurting when I looked around, and a massive blow to my hip. I mean, the muscles around my hip, they took the full force. But the bones, no bones broken. And then the most emotional part happened. When all this was done, Mom and I was in the room alone and we cried. Yeah, we cried. But it was not from sadness or anything. It was from relief. I was so happy that I was alive to be with them. I didn't want to die this young. No one wants to die this young, you know. But to see my mom cry like that, it hurts. I don't want my parents to be upset. No one does that. Excuse me. I'm not expecting to cry in video, but every time I talk about this story, it hurts. It's all those memories, you know. So, the last thing the nurses did was to see if I could walk. And I could perfectly stand, but I could use my left leg to take one step. But when I tried to use my right leg, all the weight had to be on this leg. And let me tell you, that was a pain that really shook over me. I couldn't walk. I had to use a wheelchair to get out of the hospital, and I got some crutches to walk around, but the hit was so hard that I had to use crutches for 3 weeks. But before I could go home, I wanted to see the school because I wanted to see my friends. And I got my wish. I managed to see my friends, and they already told me, they already knew about the accident. It was already all over the news. And when I saw what the news said, I was like, whoa, I'm on the headline. Yeah, it was a little shocking to see it already came out. But I even saw the last part of the news. The man who hit me, he was taken by the police and he lost his license for 2.5 years. I would say that's the punishment for you, man. But it wasn't like fully over because everyone knew he was responsible for the accident, but if he didn't want to take the blame, there was going to be court. But yeah, I'll get back to that later. After we got out of school, after I saw my friends, say hello to them, we went over to the mechanics, and there, my car, the Peugeot 206, was already standing there. And when I saw the hit on that side, I can even show you. If you give me a minute. Let me see if I can find it for you. Because I know I still have the photo. And here it is. Look at this. Isn't this shocking? Yeah. The left side was completely destroyed, and the bottom of the car also damaged. It took the full force of that hit. And when I heard what the speed was, I was stunned. The car, the black Chevrolet that hit me, he hit me with 74 miles per hour. That's over 110 kilometers per hour. That was a major blow for me. How could I survive that hit with no bones broken? When a car crashes like that, you have chances of getting bones broken, but no. I escaped with no broken bones. That was incredible. That car, that Peugeot 206, saved my life. And I could thank my dad for that, because he said, son, when you get a car, you need to make sure you have a car with a strong bottom and a strong car door. And we got that one. That car saved me. It was like God's hand was protecting me. And I was thankful for that. But when we was at the mechanics, I had one last thing to do. I made a phone call to my sister. And yes, he already knew the accident. When we called her, it was first my mom that called her, and then she passed the phone to me, and my sister was so emotional. She was crying. And to hear siblings cry as well, no, I don't want that. I was on the phone with her for 7 whole minutes, and we talked, and I said to my sister, please, please, my sister, don't cry. I'm right here. I'm alive. I'm okay. I have no bones broken. I'm still with you. Don't forget that. I'm alive. I'm alive. This is hard to tell. And that was that day, November 14th. This is a day that scarred me for life. And since that day, I refuse to sit in a car on this day here, no matter what. I'm afraid of this day, you know. November 14th is a day I refuse to sit in a car as a driver or as a passenger. I made that rule. I don't want to sit in a car on this day again. I'm afraid. I'm just so afraid. I know it sounds wrong, but when you experience something like that, it won't be easy to get rid of it. And the next day, November 15th, the police came over to me and asked for my witness about how the accident, and I told them everything, that I had a green light. I drove over for green, that's what you do. And then when I looked over to my left, the car was there and it didn't stop and just smack. I told them everything I could remember, and they thanked me for my testament. And then they also went to the other driver who caused the accident. And after 5 days, while I was still recovering, with the crutches, I got a letter from the police, and they said that he has taken the full blame. He was fully responsible. There was no asking out of it. And he paid for all the damage he caused. And it was the damage he caused on my body, the damage he caused for my car, and he lost his license for 2.5 years. So I was very happy that he took the blame, because then there would be no court. And yeah, that was that. That was the end of that story. But I haven't seen him since that day, November 14th, and I don't want to see him again. Because who knows what's going to happen. And after all, he was like a man in his 50s, maybe. I don't know. Don't want to know why. Actually, I don't want to know. But anyway, this story here, every time this day comes, all those memories rushes in your head. And it can get too much, But I found a way to cope with it. Even though the memories keeps coming, I just don't want to give up. And not only that, my recovery took 2 full months. Even though I only used crutches for 3 weeks and I learned to walk again, the next thing came, the emotional damage. After my body had fully recovered and I could walk again without crutches. I could run, I could jump. The saddest part came. You know, the part in your soul that also needs to heal. And my body was fully good at recovering the damaged part, you know, the muscles on my hip first and the soreness in my neck. But then my spirit was broken. I went into depression. I cried often and often. I needed help. And I got help on the 27th of December. There I went to speak to a priest. She was very kind. She understood how I felt because she also suffered from depression back then when she was a teenager. And she fully understood how I felt. And we talked all the way to January the 14th in 2014. And those days I had with her, that was so good. We talked and talked and talked. It was very nice to have someone to talk to and someone who understands how you feel. I mean, I know I have my mom who understands me, and my dad understands me, my sister understands me, my friends understood how I felt, but I needed someone else. And that's when I talked to that priest. And I still see her to this day, but not for this talking, because we're friends. But after we talked the last day at January the 14th, I wasn't sad anymore. And 2 months of recovery from one single accident. All the way in 2013, 2 months ago. Yeah. One hit can change a person forever. And that accident changed my life. Back then I wasn't scared of the traffic. When I had my driver's license, you know, when I passed, I was so looking forward to drive around. But that accident, it changed me. Now I'm afraid of what's gonna happen out there. Driving, it may look fun, but it's serious business. And MikuFans out there, I hope this story here can learn you something, because I don't want you out there to be like what I became. That accident gave me a big scar in my spirit. And to tell you, to be honest, that scar is still not fully healed. Because 10 years ago, even though it's 10 years now, I am still scared. All those memories, they can do something to you. So, if you're depressed, go see someone. Go talk to someone. Don't do this on your own. Because it can lead to a disaster. And I don't want that for you. And I managed to get the help I desperately needed. That priest, she helped me pull through. Those doctors back then, they saved me. Those humans, those kind people at the accident, they supported me. I wasn't alone. I wasn't alone all this time. I had people around me. They helped me pull through. And I can't thank them enough. Those people and that car, they saved my life. They saved my life. Yeah. So that's the story. But I am okay, MikuFans, even though this day here, it scares me to this day. 10 years ago, one accident, my life was changed. But I am pulling through. So don't worry. I will be fine. But anyway, MikuFans, that's the story about this day here. And let me tell you, one accident can really change a person forever. But as long as you get help, you can pull through. So don't be a stranger. Ask for help. Even though I wasn't asking, I got the help. And it was so kind. It was so nice to have the help. So that's it. Thank you to all you people out there who helped me. So yeah. Even though a single thank you isn't enough, it feels like I thanked you, but I can't thank you enough. I wish I could see you out there again, because you rescued me. But anyway, it was that time, but I was grateful that they helped me. And I love you, my sister. I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad. You also helped me. So yeah, I would say that's the end of that one. I know this has been a little long video, but this story here, I hope you can learn from this. Don't be like me. When you have green light, please remember to look left and right before you drive. I have learned that now. So, even though I had green light, please be careful, alright? So that's all I can say. So, thank you for being here for this story. That is my story of November the 14th, the day that scarred me and scared me to this day. So, that's it. Thank you for listening, and thank you for watching this video. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button today to become a MikuFan, and I'll see you next time in my next video. So, bye bye MikuFans, stay tuned for more, and as always, we believe in Miku Hatsune, she's the best. Have a good night everyone, take care out there.